So it is 7:06 p.m. We will call our Thursday, April 23rd, Harbor Gateway North Planning and Land Use Committee meeting to order. I'll do the roll call. Our secretary, Nancy Torres, has a work conflict and hopefully will join us at 8. So roll call, Rosalie Preston present. Salima Hunzi hasn't responded. RV Powell, are you present? RV, are you able to speak? Janisha Robinson are present.
I'm present.
Okay,
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute.
okay. RV,
Hello.
okay, you're present. Let's see, Rebecca Rodriguez.
I'm present.
Okay, Dave Trejo,
Present.
Lou Watson.
Present.
Okay, we have a quorum. So that was item 1, call to order. Number 2, general public comment. Is there anyone, I don't see anyone else who would want to make comment who's a stakeholder about something not on the agenda. So we can come back to that later if anyone shows up. So we will move on to item number 3, which is a brief presentation by Enrique Morales about, it's just at this point, a proposal to put 32 tiny homes at 512 West Laconia. And this is a property that is located on the west side of Figueroa, north of 127th Street. So in 127th Street on the north side has kind of a light terracotta beige apartment building. Then there's a row of 1-story small, kind of a court of apartments. And then there's a 2-story, I believe, light beige apartment building. And then there's kind of a triangular shaped lot. I hope a number of you were able to visit the location or are familiar with it. It is, one side is located up above the Harbor or 110 freeway, and it is a little bit south of the now closed Edge of Town Motel property, just to give some context. So Enrique is going to give a brief background and then we'll ask any questions for the details that he hasn't provided. So Enrique, go ahead. Did you become a panelist? Okay. Okay, let's see. All right, here's the proposal. There was a link in the constant contact email also to kind of an overview.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, very good. And can you see the screen, the Google Slides?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can get this thing going. All right. Okay. Can everybody see that? I'm assuming everybody can see that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. Full
Okay,
screen.
great.
Very good.
Okay, great. Okay. Okay. So first off, thank you everybody for allowing me to speak and having the opportunity. And thank you, Rosalie, and I think it was Pamela that gave me some pointers. So I tried to do my best to provide answers that were thorough and addressed the issues. But okay, so good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak about the proposed Tinies on Fig workforce housing project. Okay. My name is Enrique Morales. I'm a local builder and operator of small-scale housing, and I own a company called Workforce Homes, where we design, build, and manage tiny home units. My focus has been on developing practical housing solutions that can be delivered efficiently while still providing quality living spaces for everyday working residents. Right. In addition to building these units, I also operate them. We currently run a small community called Camp Tiny Homes, where these same units are being used in a real-world setting. That experience has been important because it allows us to understand not just how to build the units, but how they function over time, and how they're maintained, and how residents actually live in them. So what I'm presenting here tonight regarding Tinies on Fig isn't a theoretical idea. It's based on something that we've already built, tested, and continue to operate. Over time, that has allowed us to refine the design, the layout, and the management approach to create something that is both efficient and livable. I'm currently working with the owner of the site at Figueroa and Laconia. This is an overview of that property. And I'm here to share our early concept, and more importantly, to get your feedback before anything is finalized. So the site we're discussing is an underutilized parcel that has remained vacant for decades, despite being zoned for multi-unit residential development. Like many long vacant properties, the absence of consistent activity can lead to issues over time. And you can imagine the crimes, homelessness, garbage dumping, unwanted vehicles, and such. But at the same time, there's a clear gap in the housing market for working residents, people with steady jobs who don't qualify for subsidized housing, but still struggle to afford market rate rents. So the question that we're trying to answer here is, can we activate a long vacant site with housing that is both attainable and practical to deliver? All right, so the concept that we're exploring is a small, well-managed workforce housing community of approximately 30 to 34 units. Each unit is fully self-contained living space with its own kitchen, bathroom, and sleeping area, designed for full-time residential use. This model allows us to deliver housing more efficiently than a traditional construction, which helps reduce the overall cost and timeline. And as a result, it has the potential to align with workforce income levels around 60 to 80% of area median income without relying on any public subsidy. Now, you compare that to large-scale developments, which can take several years to build and lease up. This approach can be delivered much more quickly while still providing private, high-quality living spaces. We've also done early outreach in the community, and the feedback has been strong, particularly from working individuals looking for smaller, more attainable housing options that still offer privacy and stability. In addition, the project would be professionally managed with on-site management, on-site parking, camera security, and a cohesive layout designed to create a clean and organized environment. Now, what makes the project unique is not just the housing itself, but how it fits within the existing framework. These types of units are already permitted under current regulations across multiple zoning categories, which reflects that they are recognized as a safe and viable form of housing. However, they are typically implemented at a very limited scale of only one per property or per parcel. So what we're exploring here is whether this same concept can be applied in a more organized community scale format on a site like this, which already allows for multi-unit residential density. So this isn't about introducing something new. It's about understanding how an already accepted housing type can be applied more effectively to meet real demand. And given the site conditions and the existing zoning, this project could also serve as a pilot for how this type of housing might be implemented more broadly. I want to emphasize that this is an early concept, and we're here to get feedback. One of the goals of this presentation is to understand how this model can move forward within the existing policy, and where council guidance may be able to or enable its application at a community scale. If successful, this could represent a way to activate underutilized land more quickly while providing housing that meets the needs of working residents. So I appreciate your time, and I'm happy to answer some questions. But that's the project, Tiny's on Fig, and ultimately the idea of attainable workforce housing between 60 and 80% of area median income.
Okay, so let's have people raise their hands if they have specific questions. I do have some that I've,
I'm sure.
yeah, okay. All right, Janisha?
Hi, Enrique. Thank you for coming this evening.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yes. I just have a question, like, how does it differ from like a trailer park?
Well, a trailer park, when you think about it, when you look at the tiny homes, we're built like homes. And in trailer parks, a lot of times you have RVs, motor vehicles, and they look like motor vehicles. When you look at a tiny home, they're actually built and structured like a tiny home. When you look at the sheathing, the cladding, the windows, the insulation, all these things. Plus, the idea, what we're trying to do is make sure that this is professionally managed. If I'm right, this could be a really important little project. And it is very important to me that this is done right. And so for me, it's all about professional management and making sure that this is run correctly, and represents what I really think this could be.
So it's like we're making like a little tiny neighborhood. So,
Yeah.
what is the management part need to entail if it's just people buying a house? Like,
Well,
I don't
okay,
have a neighborhood manager.
No, okay, let's step back because I may have confused people early on. One of the things that the primary purpose of this is rents, affordable and attainable rents. The state recently introduced this AB 1033 that changes everything, right? And so ultimately, in the long run, I would be open to this for ownership down the road. But in the meantime, it's not there. The state says it's legal, but the cities and the counties haven't figured out a way to implement it yet. So that's a long-term plan. But in the meantime, I see this as a rental facility. That's our only choice, actually, where we professionally manage it and make sure things are run properly.
Okay, so it'll be 32. Like, are they all the same size, like all 1-bedroom units, or
There'll
how
be
would
some
that work?
modifications. Some will be studios,
Okay,
but some will
okay,
be the 1-bedrooms. So it depends on
okay.
what the requirement of how they want us to lay it out, and we'll manipulate the units to address that.
I'm just thinking in terms of marketability. I know, you're saying for a medium income person, but you know what I mean? So like, how do you still make it desirable, or, versus people just like, I need to just be somewhere where I'm not outside. You know what I'm saying?
I think so. So the idea is, there's a working workforce residents in this area, and unfortunately, some of them are being forced out because they can't afford market rents. So here's a solution that without government assistance that can provide something beneath market rates, and but at the same time, the entry level professionals, the nurses, the you know the service people, that whatever, it's the barista, the yoga person, the whatever it is, but there is a group of people that are contributing to the neighborhood, and it makes sense to assist them instead of forcing them out so they have to drive from, say, Lancaster to serve a job in this area. So the idea is to honor those people and make it easy for them to have homes within a short distance of work.
And
Thank
how
you.
much would the monthly rents be, do you think?
Well, okay, so the idea is the going rate is whatever the AMI is, but the whole point is 80% of that or 60% of that, somewhere in that range. So the number that I showed in that graph is somewhere about as low as 1,500, 1,600 up to about, let's say, 1,900. Somewhere in that range is what I'm seeing. And these are not shared units. These are individual units. They're your own. So that's your own space, your own privacy, your own independence.
And
Now,
it
the
looked
other thing,
like there was parking for 1 or 2 cars for
that's
each
correct. That's
unit.
correct. We made it so that the location will allow for us to take advantage of those programs, the TOC and the ED1. But what that does is we can remove parking and add density. But we had a lot of feedback from the community, and I agree. If you do that and increase the density, it reduces the livability of the space. So what we try to do is make sure for each unit there's a parking space. So 1 unit per tiny home.
Hi, I have
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've been here on the meeting. I'm sorry, I had my speakers on. I thought they were on. I couldn't hear at the beginning, but I've been here since the beginning. Sorry about that, everybody. Uh, hi, hi,
Hi,
Mr.
Harvey.
Miller. Hi. Um, I have a question. With the lot that's on, to have 32 tiny homes is kind of small. And would it be
Mhm.
some type of rec area or anything? And plus, what's the population you're looking at? Because if it's tiny homes, what about families and young kids and things like that?
Well, we can do our best. The idea is, and we have a number of different models where there's more than one, let's say, loft. And so I have a couple units up at Camp Tiny Homes where we have people that will come and family members stay. But once again, the idea is there are market rates, and we're going to be well below it because of the way that we are building and delivering. See, a traditional build is extremely expensive, and it takes at least 3 years to build and then lease up. We're done in weeks because the permit process is completely different. So that savings of construction costs and time allows us to kind of to reflect that in the rents. So I keep throwing out that AMI because that seems to be the term that the government seems to want us to think in terms of. But the we can go. Let me see. Can you see my screen when I go back? Can
Yeah,
you see
I
this?
can see.
Okay. Look at here. So this is what the city defines as the area median income. It's what the average family makes, right? And so what there's many of the government programs in LA, particularly that ED1, says, hey, we'll give you this deal without parking, but you got to hit 80% or 60% of the area median income. And that's a concession that the city gives. What I'm saying is we're able to do it. We can do that without without the concessions, and as long as we are allowed to use this structure. Now, at the core of this is the tiny homes are allowed on single family, multifamily, and commercial. So it's legal. But there is a limit of one per property. And so what I'm really after here is what can we do to align this with what the government wants or what the city wants? The city wants housing that's affordable, right? And we can deliver that. And the lot is based for density. It wants up to as many as 45 at least. I mean, I think we can go higher than that, but that's not what we want to do. We're thinking around 30. So, and keeping the parking at the same time, providing this number, that target, which is what the city wants us to hit. And I think we can hit that.
Yeah, but then what about okay, I'm looking at the other things too, because the city say, yeah, we got a lot of homeless people and, we got a lot of people that needs to move in
Right.
so they won't have to commute, far and things like that. But
Right.
my thing, okay, the upkeep of the city, like we need street lights, we need all this stuff around the city, and the city cannot even fix the street lights and
Okay.
everything. They can't even pick up the trash, keep up with the
Yep.
trash. But
It,
that's a
it,
different thing. And what about the sewage and plumbing system here? Because if we keep building, and nobody addresses the sewage and other things that help to maintain all these new properties, because they building like 10 to 12-story buildings and everything. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to address that?
well,
The plumbing.
I can tell you that the city will not. They're not shy about billing me. I will tell you that they're not going to be shy about saying, all right, we need money to do this for utilities, which I'm putting everything together. That would be sewer, that'd be water, that'd be electrical. Trust me, they're not shy about hitting me up for money, and they're going to. So they're going to collect from us for the structure. So, and like I said, this is not a government funded project. This is us coming in and saying we can do this without government subsidy. But we need help in terms of what I call scale. We need, this is why I'm actually coming to you in a way, is to see, is there a way that the council can help us align the idea of the legal tiny home, but allowing more than one per parcel, right? So there's a limitation of one, right? And we are trying to figure out, can we get the neighborhood council and then the district to, first off, recognize, do they like this idea, right? And if they do, can we get some support in helping to align this idea? One, they're legal, right? If they were unsafe, the city would not allow it. Two, that they're legal in all the zones, multifamily, single family, and commercial. So they have already said this is a doable dwelling unit, right? So in a way, the precedent has been set. However, the policy only allows one per property, and that location is, I think it's 4 different parcels. So what we're trying to figure out is, can we figure out a way to align these systems? Can we get the city to, because it's obviously not a safety issue, it's not a zoning issue, and it's not a building issue. It's a policy issue at this point, right? They obviously they're legal, and everybody they're looking at a solution or trying to find a solution to create housing that's affordable and housing that can be delivered quickly. And here it is. But we just need them to kind of see this one little box and this other box and make sure that they work together. And I hope I'm communicating that right. I'm trying to see, can the government, the neighborhood council, and then the district find a way to politically address and align this idea that ultimately will provide housing that's affordable.
So are you saying that currently you wouldn't be able to put the 32?
That is correct. That is
Okay.
correct.
So,
Because
but why, but going back to Janisha's question, I mean, they really do look like, it looks like a mobile home park. And does the city have some regulations regarding mobile home parks?
That's a good question. I think someone wanted to say something. Okay, so what I understand is that there are zones. Everything is set up for zones, zoning across the city, but this is zoned for R3, and it's been abandoned for at least 20 years. No one has done anything with this parcel. So here I've got a solution, right? That could potentially activate this and make it a very participatory piece of the community. If we can get under
Okay, but
market
that's
rate,
not the question. The
okay?
question is the mobile home park issue.
Mhm.
Because there are, I believe, some mobile home parks still in the city of LA. And
Right,
couldn't you go in that way?
it's a possibility.
Okay. And
But
so on these structures,
But I
um,
wouldn't count on it.
you-
I wouldn't count on them changing the zoning. What I see here is there's something. It's already legal as a unit. I one of my businesses. I sell this primarily to apartment complexes, and they're allowed to put it in the back of in one of the parking spaces, and it's a legal apartment. So here's a solution that's already allowed in all the zones. If we're going to go to the city and say, yeah, change this to a mobile home park, it ain't going to happen. You know what I mean? They're not there. There's no one that's going to.
well, we don't know that mobile home parks require a different type of zoning.
No.
So
That property's R3. To change that
exactly, but does that prevent a mobile home park from being built on it?
well, I wouldn't call it a mobile home park. Um,
Well, but we would. So
well,
anyway, what about the structures, do they go on some type of foundation?
they can, but they don't have to. What the ordinance wants is simply to conceal the underside of the units. And when you look at the examples of the photos that I have, you can see that in many cases that's concealed. You don't see it. However, there's a lot of different ways to do it. And one of the issues that we might run into is I know there's a methane 2 classification. So we might have to put planters there instead of sending it all the way to, sending the siding all the way to the ground to allow the gas to escape. So things like that. But this, I'm trying to make sure that it could fall within the existing framework because I'm a little hesitant to see the city change the zoning to a mobile home park. I see a lot of resistance to that. And these units are designed to look like homes, right? And if we're going to professionally run it, that would be our goal, is to make it look as professional and as enticing as possible.
Okay, Rebecca, you had a question?
Yeah, I do. I wanted to know if there have been similar projects that have succeeded in comparable cities to Los Angeles.
It's a good question. Yeah. There are, first, off the top of my head, in Northern California, there are tiny home villages. All right. There are tiny home villages. If you want, I can find them for you and send that to you. San Diego is quite open-minded as well at this point.
But have they done anything? Has any city like as large as our city done something comparable? Or are we talking because in Northern California, there's a lot of
I'll have to. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but there's a whole tiny home industry, and I'm actually part of the Tiny Home Industry Association. So there's a number of facilities across the country that have built villages, Airbnb vacation sort of items. So and I know Portland is also very active in this thing. Now that I think about it, so it's the precedent is there.
Is there a way to share that information with us for you to obtain that information?
Yeah, absolutely. What I'll do after the meeting, I will find a series of places, and where would you like me to send it to? Would just the general email for Leslie?
General email, and we can forward to the whole.
Okay, very good. That's what I'll do, without a doubt.
Okay, Lou, you had a question?
Hi, Lou.
Lou, can you unmute? Okay, otherwise we'll go to Dave Trejo and come back to Lou.
Hi, Enrique. Thank you
Hey,
for
Dave.
the presentation. I think you're navigating all sorts of things in terms of trying to find places where this is manageable and finding something adjacent to the freeways probably makes it realistic, but also while making housing affordable, it makes it at the cost of air quality. And so I'm wondering what's being done or mitigated in terms of air filtration because they're going to be as close to the freeway if that aerial shot is correct in
Yeah,
terms
actually,
of the
that's
design.
that's a good question. That's actually a good question. And when we look at ZEMIS, that is one of the classifications. It does say that we're close within 1,000 feet of the freeway. Well, there's some very simple things to mitigate, and it's not uncommon when you look at the freeway. There are many properties along there, and they're all doing the very same thing. So the first thing I can think of, and the agencies will tell me, but I can tell you the first thing is obviously to raise the height of the wall from the property. That's the first thing. Also, to add filtration and ventilation to each of the units. Change the orientation of the openings of the units. So this is not an uncommon thing. When you look, up and down that freeway, all of those buildings have to deal with this exact issue. So that's an easily overcomable issue. But that's a good question.
Yeah, I hear you. I think sometimes what was required environmentally, like we've grown over time in terms of what can be built and what's required, and oftentimes homes that were built a really long time ago don't have the protections or central air or purification, and so with the new development, it's important to understand that. If I
I
understand this
understand.
correctly, and forgive me
And
if you answered this already, I was trying to navigate a lot of things at the beginning of this meeting. Um, what you're seeking from the city is if you're seeking some sort of zoning or permission to be able to have this volume of housing, um, and by calling it tiny homes, you're hoping that you can accelerate that. If it were to be called a mobile park home or anything else, it would slow down the permitting process and the building of it significantly, right?
not just that. I want you to take a look at the ordinance here. The ordinance defines the movable, look at it in the title. It equates the movable tiny home to an accessory dwelling unit. And as far as things are going, we know the accessory dwelling unit is the accessory to the existing main unit. But now this is all blurred because the state passed AB 1033, which basically states, if you think about it, the accessory dwelling unit is now the main unit and it can be sold separately. So what I'm getting at is the structure exists and it's legal. It's a dwelling unit that is accepted by the city, whether it's, and now it's a matter of scale. Can we create permission for more than one on a property? Because ultimately, what are we trying to do? We're trying to create housing that is affordable. When you look at the ED1 is a great program, but it's a very expensive program and it takes a long time. Whereas here we can provide units that hit the rent numbers that the city wants without involving programs and investment from the government, which saves money. So, I think it hits a lot of points. And what I think we're missing here is whether the city might have one point of view, but The state has defined that the direction where things are going is individual units are going to be sold individually, right? Even though they're intended as ADUs, they can be sold separately. And if you look at the title, it equates accessory dwelling unit with a movable tiny home. So by default, it's essentially the same thing, and the precedent has been set. I mean, that's where that's where my brain's going.
Yeah. Okay. Lou, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Mr. Morales,
Yes.
what I understand what you just said was that one of these units per parcel is okay because of state law.
Correct.
There are
city law.
City law.
Yeah.
There are 4 parcels at that location. We're not talking about some other city or Las Vegas, Nevada, where you have that project up there. We're talking about at Figueroa.
Yes.
I am concerned because as it is now, you could only put 4 of these tiny homes on that location. You're asking us to agree for 32. That sounds like an overcrowded housing project with nowhere to move, nowhere to breathe. And another thing I want to ask you is how many occupants can occupy one of these tiny homes? Have it now. Don't tell me what you proposed. The proposal that you have for us to now before us. How many people? How many occupants can live in this one of those?
Okay, these are good questions, and you bring up good points. The lot is R3. As it is, it's zoned for at least 45 units.
I understand that, but we're talking about what you're proposing here. But
you just forgive me, but you just said my 30 units is overcrowding when it's zoned for at least 45. And so what I'm proposing is each unit could be 1 or 2 people and a car per unit. So although it's zoned for 45, and under the city's rules, I bet you could get a lot more. My point of view is 30 with parking, it makes it more livable. See where I'm going with this? Because
I don't. No, I don't.
Tell me, because 30 seems less than I think 45 is overcrowding. 45 units, which would be probably 2 people per unit, could be 90 people.
We would probably think something like 20 might be more livable. Give each space more room and be able to move units away from the side of the freeway more easily.
Mr. Morales, if you could put 30 people on that parcel of land now, you wouldn't be here. You're here today because you could only put 4 of these units on that lot. That is why you're here today. Let's be frank.
No, that is true. I'm here to discuss the possibility of a different approach. And maybe I didn't make it as clear as I should have, but we can go the traditional route and build at least 45 units, right? The property is almost an acre in size. So what I'm suggesting here is an alternative approach that creates housing that's affordable without government subsidy. And at 30 units, I thought this would be less than 45 and would be agreeable. And when we put it out there on the social media, I don't know if I saw that, but I created a number of groups on a group and a bunch of posts on Nextdoor. They all loved the idea of parking. They loved this idea that they would have their own space, that it would be affordable, and they had their own parking.
Okay, what I said to you is if you could legally put 45 of these tinies
yes,
on that parcel, you would not be before us today. You're here today because you're asking us if we're willing to agree that you could do this pilot program that you have here that you're asking us to agree to. You can't do it without going through something. It is not by right. That's what I'm trying to.
No, that is absolutely right. I was not suggesting that it was. I'm simply saying that I'm not interested in 45 tiny homes on that property. I looked at about 30 to 34 was the number I was playing with. And so as opposed to a traditional build, this is where I was trying to come from. A traditional build is going to be a huge financial, we're looking at probably somewhere in the tens of millions, probably 20 to $30 million. It's going to take 3 years to complete. We're in at a fraction of that cost, and you have housing that people can afford.
We're thinking about the welfare of the stakeholders that would be living there.
Okay.
30 is not by right either. Or you, like I said, you wouldn't be here if you could just go ahead and build by right. You would have done it. You wouldn't have come to our neighborhood council with this proposal here.
Well, I started off by saying that I'm asking this, and the idea is to get this sort of exchange, to find out what is agreeable and what is not, and what can I do to alleviate or to remedy that.
That is too many. That's too many tinies. That's what we're trying to get to you, because we're giving you all of these issues. One of the issues was, did you look into maybe a mobile home? First of all, it's too close to the freeway for me in the first place. I'll just be frank with you. But you did not look into, because you're about the tinies, but you don't know whether or not what is legal on that parcel. You don't know what the zone is. You don't know if an R3,
it's an R3.
Well,
but okay, continue.
You don't know whether mobile homes could be placed on that R3 lot. So we don't need to talk about that because somebody brought that up.
Okay.
But you're talking about placing 30 tinies on a lot where right now you could only do 4.
That is correct.
All right.
That is, but okay, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, and I have to process it. But once again, the alternative is a large structure of at least 45 units. That's the only alternative if you want that developed. And I'm just coming with a different approach. And this was to get your feedback, to see what you guys thought of approach of something small. You know, back in the day, LA was a cottage sort of housing, the way this is. They're cottages, not these big boxes that go straight up. And so if this is not a viable solution, all right, I'm listening. But the other alternative is we wait for someone to build a big structure there. So this was just a proposal to hear if you guys would, entertain the idea of something smaller and cottage as opposed to.
Okay, we've got some more questions and we've got to wrap up because
okay, that's fine.
We have other things. So Rebecca, you had another question?
Yeah, I do. So I know that you said that it's zoned for 45, but in that zoning, was that for multi-level?
Yes.
A multi-level. So yeah, so there is a little bit of a difference when you're building up versus building out. But I wanted to know, so each parcel, what is the approximate square footage of each parcel?
That I don't know. They're all different, but I can tell you the overall size it's just under an acre.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking in my brain, like what the size of my house is, what the size of my lot is, so I can put that into perspective size-wise, because I don't know, like an acre.
Probably 39,000 square feet. I think.
Okay.
Something like that. I don't know. It's somewhere. I remember it's just under an acre, and it's the high 30.
What are you expecting the square footage to be of each unit, including the parking space and the perimeter around the unit?
Good question. That we'd have to figure out. First off, we'd have to. I can show you from the designs. Maybe we can kind of calculate that. But I know that's a preliminary design because the city's going to come back with a bunch of changes. They're going to say, "Can you do this? Can you do this? Can this?" So but the
So in the
units.
interest of time, that's something we'll ask you to figure out and send us that information, because that
Okay.
is important. How big a space would each little tiny plus the surrounding
Okay.
include?
Yeah, I can do
Okay.
that. Unit
Yeah.
plus one.
Okay, and Janisha?
I just wanted to say, like, I understand what you're saying in terms of like providing a solution with a faster turnaround to address the, housing shortage, which is
Mhm.
a, city problem. But as you have to understand as stakeholders and as a neighborhood, we're also
Mhm.
just trying to see like how it would just kind of impact the flow of things. I understand it being, unused for this long period of time too, but it's not like you're developing something that, brings, better walkability or like, a school or something like that's going to impact people who already live here. So in bringing more people in, like what other things I guess can we expect as the benefit to maybe help it be more palatable? Because you're just asking us to show support in terms of supporting a policy change
Mhm.
for your business to develop the space, right? So it'll be like a vote, something we vote on, or an exception for your permit, or what exactly are you asking us for?
Well, overall, I know there's the neighborhood council and there's the district, and I'm thinking in terms of what can we do to provide housing that's affordable and quick to establish and still hit the those numbers that the city wants, those lower rates. I mean, there's a number of working people in the neighborhood that are not, they can't be subsidized. They make too much money to be subsidized, but at the same
I
time
get you.
they're not making
I'm,
enough.
yeah,
Sorry.
I'm not to cut you off, but I understand all of that part. And I
Okay.
guess too, it's just like, part of it as a resident too, like in the spaces, I'm going to be frank, like, this is a neighborhood that we're like red lined into, many of us. And now it's like, it feels like we're bearing a large grunt of like, you know, the urbanization and all the stuff to make sure there's a space for everybody to live. And in that, like, we want to help the city. But if we say we're helping the city and we're being amicable to the solutions, like
Mhm.
how can we also,
Let me ask you
and I'm just
this.
offering this to you, like what can you offer back to like to us too? Like, okay, this is
Let
what
me
we're
do
doing
this.
to
Can we do this? Can we do this? I remember I build these units. What if I bring one down and we just kind of hang, guys, take it out, take a look at it, go inside, feel it, feel the space, see if this works for you. The idea is, can we, a lot of times seeing is believing. You know what I mean? We can talk about theoretical, but a lot of times it's a matter of touching and kicking the tire, so to speak, and
that's
seeing for
cool.
yourself.
I'll be open to that. I'll be open to that.
Okay. All right. So let's see if I can coordinate a time and a place where we would bring one, and then we try and visualize how this could work. So
Okay,
that
so I've got a couple more questions and then we have to wrap up. I don't think we're gonna take any position tonight because we
okay.
still have more information we need to get.
Sure.
So,
And by the way, I appreciate the time.
okay,
This has been
okay.
quite informative, and I enjoy the resistance because it's important. I got I'm in my brain, but I don't see your position, so it's important I see your positions.
Yeah, so one of the things we would want to see is the landscaping plan, especially a buffer along the freeway side, and also are the proposed internal roads for the project,
Mhm.
are they wide enough to accommodate emergency vehicles?
That's a good question. I think they're 20 feet wide. The question is, I can't remember exactly what the requirement is, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close to that.
And then the final question is, who is the owner of the property? Because the methane report went to people in Sola Impact, who we are familiar with because they have built one apartment project in our boundaries and have two others proposed that haven't moved forward. So is it Sola Impact?
Is that a corporation? I'm currently working with the owner on
Who
develop.
is the,
His name
yeah,
his
who
name is
is,
Tran. Him. It's a brother. It's two brothers. And I can
and
get
their
you the.
last name is Tran?
I think it's either Tran or Bin, Binh.
So I wonder why that methane report was addressed to Sola Impact.
Uh, I don't know what Sola Impact is. Is that a corporation? Is it a company that does these sort of investigations? So it's possible that the city gave it.
No, it's a company that builds and invests in apartment buildings.
Mhm. Well, remember, these are reports that have been. These are not new. These are old reports. So
Right, but yeah. So
remember
okay,
that
so anyway, all right,
the
so it's
owner, you
from
know,
your perspective, it's someone not Solar Impact.
yeah, yeah. These are old reports, but the phase one and the phase two have been done, and that methane test and the wells have been capped properly. So it's all all done. All the inspections have been done, and things can be mitigated.
Okay, Janisha, did you have one last question before we wrap this second segment? Janisha?
Sorry, no, that's all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you
Oh,
so much for coming, and we'll provide you some further questions, and then we'll look forward to your responses.
okay. Once again, I appreciate the time, and
Yes, and if you, and we will probably try to figure out if you can bring a unit
okay.
closer to our area that we can view.
Okay, very good, very good. Once again, I appreciate the time, and it was very informative. It tells me more about the perspective that I need to have and connection I have to have with the
Okay,
community.
thank you.
Well, thank you.
All right, so our next item is the item 4, the approval of a comment letter on the proposed 6-story, 111 unit apartment building with, well, it says 85 parking spaces, but we just got the updated plan and now it's down to 75 and 18 affordable units at 11516 South Vermont Avenue. So the revised draft letter went out. Lou has created slightly, a lot of the wording is the same. It's just the focus is in the draft that was sent out because of the planning deputy for CD8's recommendation that we focus on the findings. So in the draft that went out through Google Docs, the findings are emphasized in the beginning, whereas in Lou's version, they're towards the end. But I think the basic language is all in, that Lou had emphasized is all in the Google draft. Some of the wording could be adjusted to follow the wording that she has in her draft, but otherwise, I think it could stand. Maybe at the end, we could state that while we understand the requirements of state laws that allow the density and height of this proposed project, to allow for the density bonus, we want to clearly state that because of its proximity to the 105 Century Freeway and the adverse impacts this proposed project would have on the existing R1 and nearby neighborhood and nearby commercial uses, we recommend that this project not be approved as currently proposed, and reference and then list those items that she has in a different part of her draft, which would be the Cal Enviro screen, the freeway adjacent advisory notice, the plan for
Rosalie,
healthy. Lou, I'm speaking.
okay, I have my
And
hand
hold
raised.
hold on. Uh, Plan for a Healthy Los Angeles, citywide design guidelines, LA Municipal Code, Chapter 1, Department of City Planning, and South Los Angeles Community Plan. So, are there other comments
Yes,
about that proposal? Okay, Lou.
okay, I would like the two letters screen shared side by side because they are not different. I mean, they're not the same. Some of the things that you have on there, I would like to discuss it and point it out to the other members because I am not sure they have read everything to see that there is a difference. And I would like them to do that, especially because your version of the letter is still giving advice to that applicant on how to circumvent our recommendation. I would like the members to read it. And if it's okay with them for the neighborhood council to advise the applicant on how to get around the problems and the issues that this project is bringing to those stakeholders. I want them to see it and I want them to say it's okay.
Okay,
Because
you raised that issue before,
I'm
and
raising it again.
it's not
Raising it again.
advising the applicant. It is suggesting to the Department of City Planning that they need to, if they approve this project, these are some of the other things they have to require the applicant to do.
We have asked, please, may I have the two-letter screen shared?
Okay, do the other committee members want to go through this? We've gone through this letter so many times. Or Lou, can you be specific on those issues that you have concerns about?
Yes, your entire letter, I'm concerned about.
No, it's very much the same wording
It's not.
as your last draft, except in different word order. The
It's
only things I think that there's a recommendation to cut off 115th Street after the alley areas to protect the residents on 115th Street. It's something they've asked for in the past. And also that the applicant be required to repave that alley and parking lot that would provide the main access or the actual access to the structure, to the building, the parking for the building. Aren't those the issues that you're concerned about?
okay, this is what I'm asking of you. Will you please poll the committee members and ask them whether or not they want to go with your letter as it is written, or if they want to take a look at mine where I have set it out clearly so that everybody can recognize it. And to know that the neighborhood council is coming down on the side of the stakeholders because the stakeholders have said what a problem this is, and we have laws and ordinances and the community plan to support what they're saying. So if they don't want to read it, or if they don't want to see the difference in the two letters, then so be it. But I would like them to go on the record and tell me right now whether or not they want to choose between the two letters. Mine is in a format that's clear and understandable. It's set out in sections so we know what we're talking about. It's not all jumbled together. So I request a polling of the members to see what they have to say.
Okay, committee. The question is, do we want to just vote on the Google document draft that was sent out? We have to update a few things because the revised plan that we just received today from the assigned city planner shows a reduction in parking and actually the applicant is increasing the amount of open space by about 3,000 square feet, I noticed, and reducing, well, I guess he's doing that by reducing the number of parking spaces. Okay, so we'll go through. RV, do you want to compare both letters and go through all of that again?
Yeah, let's do a comparison. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, Janisha.
Sorry.
Janice.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't, I don't mind if this will resolve it, if we could just go over the,
It's going to take another half hour probably, but okay. Rebecca,
How significant are the differences? I mean, I don't know if we need to spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
okay, Dave,
I'm open to looking at both of them, and I can share a screen. I can also share what if you all are open to it, what AI says is the difference between the two letters.
yes, Dave, if you could
Good
please
idea.
do that, that would be fantastic.
Okay, let me start here. Can you see here the core difference? Can you see that? Am I sharing my screen yet?
Yes, we can see the share screen.
Okay.
Okay, do you want to just,
The DocX draft
yeah,
here is referring to Lou Watson's,
I don't
and the PDF is referring to Rosalie's letter for the purpose of when you see DocX or PDF as the
what it's
differentiator here.
referring to?
What it says, Lou Watson's letter is much more explicit in terms of denial, and that the PDF is a little softer in terms of its analysis. What the DocX, which is what Lou Watson's letter has that Rosalie's does not have, is it lists all 8 waivers being requested and explicitly says deny all, and it says the PDF addresses 4 of the waivers. The Lou's letter has a worst case scenario section that lays out 9 specific adverse impacts if approved. It has a summation section that ties everything together and also explicitly calls out the applicant's mitigation efforts, and section 5 documenting contradictions and misstatements more thoroughly with specific citations of what was said and what was filed. And she also includes Marquise Harris Dawson in there. What Rosalie's letter has that Luz does not have is it cites specific exterior design recommendations. They show the council engaged with the design in detail. A 28 tree recommendation. This is a concrete enforceable task that Lou's letter only references vaguely. A recommendation to physically reorient the building closer to Vermont to protect neighbors. It's a substantive design alternative that shows good faith if we want to show good faith. And then the 5-foot landscape buffer requirement between the building and the freeway off-ramp. It also includes a recommendation to block cut-through traffic. The alley repaving requirement, which addresses the applicant which addresses damage the applicant already caused, and the air quality study demand. And then there's a discrepancy in the Enviro screen. AI recommends a merger where the explicit denial framing is the backbone and pull in the specific recommendations from the PDF, particularly the tree count with the ordinance citation, the building reorientation suggestion, the air quality study demand, the bollard recommendation, and the alley paving repaving ask, adding Harris Dawson back to the CC line and getting the number right. I asked whether or not the recommendation serve as a pathway to approval when we want denial, and it says that it can be perceived that way. What it says, what we should actually do is decide whether or not our position as a council, whether or not it's denial under all circumstances, or if there's a version of the project that we would be amenable to. And if we're honest with that, then that can guide our decision making. If we want to see the letters back to back, then we would see them here. Can you see the letters here?
Mhm.
Okay, so with that AI analysis, I don't know if hold on, let me make sure I'm good here. I'm wondering if folks have thoughts on what they want to dig into, or whether or not Rosalie wants to share specifically something that she, or I'm sorry, if Lou wants to share something, and I can just move my screen accordingly.
So I just want to point out on the Cal Enviro screen, we had been relying on something, Dave, that you found months ago, and I put it into the address into the current version 4 of Cal Enviro screen, and that's what I use.
So
So
it's a new
that's why,
update one. My
yeah,
original one may have been wrong.
right. It's a little more accurate. So
Listen, I was merely using what I had gotten from Rosalie's version.
Yeah, that's my fault.
Okay, that is okay, all right. Okay, that was not my own doing. I was just copying and pasting, that's all. So whatever is correct is correct. I have no other information other than what I thought was true and correct.
it was a previous version. So this is.
Whatever is correct is fine.
Oh, hold on. Let me make sure that I'm sharing my screen, because apparently it doesn't look like I'm sharing it. Okay, let me go here. All right.
And I
So
just want to point out that AI doesn't understand the subtleties of arguing to the city planner and the city planning commission.
I
oh,
agree with that.
So we have long been told, you don't say, we don't want this project, you demonstrate, especially with those findings, why the project doesn't meet the findings, and therefore it helps the decision makers, and we are not the decision maker. We are just advising to hopefully come up with a decision. And I would like to refer to a previous decision that was made on the moving of a liquor store from one side of the street to the other on Central Avenue many years ago. And because we asked that the hours of operation, that the commercial corner or guidelines on the hours of operation for any business not be past certain times, that the zoning administrator or the city planner for that project approved the project, but he said that they had to comply with the commercial corner times. And so that way, the city had approved it, but because of that condition, the applicant decided it wasn't worth it because they couldn't have their liquor store open really late on weekends. So this is a similar situation where especially with those waivers that were pointed out to us by the planning deputy for Councilmember Harris Dawson, who has worked in the planning department. The city has to grant the density bonus aspect because of state law. If they don't, they're going to be sued, but they do not have to grant those other waivers. And so that's what we're trying to point out and to refer to various aspects of the, the city's ordinances and policies so that, hopefully the planner comes up with the right type of decision, so our whole purpose is to protect the neighborhood, if at all possible, under the onslaught of all these state laws.
I would just like to say this. Everything in black on my version comes from what Rosalie has in her version. The only thing that I have changed is in the color.
No, you put denial, a recommendation for.
Right. That's right, because we are trying to support the stakeholders. So we don't want that project there at all, period. They don't want it there at all, period. We have grounds for why it should not be placed there, and it's set forth on page 2. Scroll up mine on page 2, Dave, please. Okay, those 7 items there, it all supports our recommendation of denial. With giving advice to these people, the applicant, about turning the building this way, narrowing the driveway and all that, we are giving advice to the applicant. The way it is now, they can't do it. So why should we advise the applicant against the wishes of we sound schizophrenic. We are trying to support our stakeholders. My version of our letter, not at any place in the letter makes any recommendation to that applicant. It all sets forth what can happen and cannot happen. That is my point. We turn around and give all of these reasons in the citations as to why this project is bad. Then Rosalie in her version, advises them, you turn the building this way, you do this, you do that. That is not what the neighborhood council is about. We don't give advice or recommendations to the applicant. We are trying to support our stakeholders. And we have ground and we have reasons. I didn't make any of this up. And not only that, in addition to the findings that Rosalie has thrown throughout hers, I have them all listed in one place. I did not change anything that Rosalie changed, except I went to the community plan and took the language from the South Los Angeles community plan. On some of Rosalie's, she paraphrased them and it's not correct. I didn't do that. So if you want to go with what Rosalie has, fine. But what I am trying to do is do what I legally found, and on my cover email to all of you, I gave you the link to the South Los Angeles community plan, so you could verify for yourself and see the difference in what Rosalie had about those findings and what I have. So scroll on down, Dave, I think it's on page 9, where I have them set out all together. That is the point. It should be in one location so that they're looking at it and focusing on it, because that's what it's about. We're talking about the findings. We're not having it inserted in places where there are other things going on. So that's that is my.
You have the exact language out of my letter, except that
I
you have it listed in separate paragraphs. That's the difference.
plus I did not make any recommendations to the applicant. That
And
is,
they're not recommendations to
you
the
didn't even
applicant. They're
listen at the,
recommendations to the city planner to require certain things in addition to denying those waivers. So
our recommendation is to deny it totally, Rosalie, so why should we
it
recommend?
has it in the end of the letter.
Rosalie, would you,
Dave, if you can scroll to the end of,
and Rosalie, would you please stop interrupting me?
it says
Don't,
that
I don't
the,
interrupt you, so don't
yeah,
interrupt me.
read out the last paragraph.
The last paragraph in green says, we understand the requirements of state laws that allow density and height of this proposed project. We want to clearly state that because of its closeness to the 105 Century Freeway and the detrimental impact on the existing R1-1 neighborhood and nearby commercial uses, we recommend that this project not be approved as currently proposed.
That is also in my letter
And
to,
and we can add in and reference and then list those 7 sources that Lou has in a different part of the letter.
I would like this, I would like to table this and we come back and we see the letter that she's talking about. And I am asking that the letter is clearly written. So it's set out so that people will recognize and understand what they're reading. Dave, would you read my summation?
It's really the same letter. It's
No, it's
just
not. Dave, would you
different
read my
wording. In
summation?
addition, have the alley, etc.
Dave, would you please read my summation?
The summation from Lou's letter, attempted mitigation efforts by applicant to circumvent, modify, minimize, or downplay the adverse impacts this proposed project would have upon the community flies in the face of city rules, protections, regulations, ordinances, guidelines, the South Los Angeles Community Plan, the authorities cited and referred to herein, and is further an additional affront to stakeholders of this community. Applicants' mitigation efforts are not agreed to and are objected to.
Yeah, I think it's just
So,
too.
okay, I'm sorry. Maybe you're about to answer because I was going to ask you that, Rosalie. Like, even from the recommendation, if we are you opposed to just saying straight out that we are opposed to it?
Yeah, I mean, we're saying that essentially that
Yeah, so
it's
I
not
think
a
that's the
good
point of
project for the
contention.
neighborhood, and
Right.
we can't say we're just opposed to it. It's that we oppose, the waivers that can be challenged.
And
So,
so
yeah,
why
which is
can't we say
essentially you're saying you don't want it, but
right?
without being so out there.
So is there a issue with saying like just saying straight out there we are opposed to the project versus just saying in essence? Because I think that's what the point of contention is, like that lack of like strength in saying that you've already because basically it's saying like you missed a mark here. In your version versus in Lou's version, where just say we oppose this and this is why, and these are the reasons where you have missed the mark versus this is you've missed a mark and here, and we don't think it's good. Versus we oppose this altogether, and you're out of line for all of these things.
Well, I don't, I think it's inappropriate to say that the applicant is circumventing, modifying, describe, it's not appropriate to make those kind of challenges. But I mean, you could say, I feel it says we do oppose it.
Mm.
I have a question.
It says we recommend that this project not be approved as currently proposed. So that's saying you don't want it.
Well, I have a question. What if we were a little more forceful in terms of what Lou wants, but at the same time, what I want to know is if we are more forceful, does that mean that if the project is ultimately approved, that we lose our ability to negotiate demands?
We're not in that position at all. We have no role. If the project is approved at the city planning level, someone from the neighborhood has to file an appeal, and then they would have to find an attorney to challenge it in court.
So
So
you're saying like your letter, what when you gave the example of
our letter is just to influence the city planner, and that's why this letter is only going to Terry Osborne, the planning deputy for CD8, and Laura Garcia, the field deputy for CD8. I mean, it's going to the city planner to try to influence her decision, because her decision, as we've found with other projects and issues, what the city planner recommends is extremely important. And then usually the city planning commission, unless the developer has a lot of money and puts pressure on them, they go along with what city planning recommends.
okay, that makes sense.
So we want to be as
Careful.
realistic and reasonable
And
as possible. I mean, you could make that last little paragraph, I don't know if you could put some other wording into it. But the strong language can come from members of the community who write their own letters. So
That
this is just to get in there, and I want to remind everyone again, even though the applicant finally submitted a revised plan, which was very little revised, there's still things they're waiting for that he hasn't submitted, and therefore the project is still on hold. So if we want to fight this out again,
I have a suggestion. Rosalie. Why don't the two of us try to come to agreement on the language of the letter? Because your letter is just too conciliatory by giving them advice on what they need to do. But the city planner needs to know that the neighborhood council is concerned. And here are our concerns. And all of the things that I have in that letter that I that I have proposed is letting the city planner know that we have done all our research. We have gone to the site, and these are the things that we are bringing to her attention. And we want her to know how we really feel. That we feel like there's nothing he can do to make.
that the applicant can do. Well,
I have
Are
some. I
are
have
you willing to try to work with me on this letter, the language of the letter? Because I totally oppose to your letter, except I agree with everything that's in black, which is most of the things on your letter. I don't agree with the format you have. I don't agree with you recommending anything to the applicant.
it's not okay.
No, the words recommendation is on your letter, Rosalie.
so I know that,
Okay,
like,
so we're gonna,
can I say
let's try to,
one thing? I
yeah.
don't want to. I think the entire council probably or the committee would love to see a letter that you two work on outside that we come into, because I think it would save the points of contention. I don't want to sound like an AI robot or parroter, knowing that AI makes mistakes. Um, I'm using a version of Claude that I pay for because it helps me save time. I think that I can give Rosalie and Lou a draft of something that they can wrestle with. That is a merging of their two letters. The merging of their two letters does four things. It documents that the three required findings for approval cannot be made on the current record. Under city planning, a project cannot be approved unless specific findings are met. And each finding section in this letter ends with the exact language which creates a formal record that the council reviewed the application and found it legally insufficient, not just undesirable. 2, it documents the material contradictions in the application itself. The applicant told the committee one thing at the May 2025 meeting and filed something different on their compliance forms. That's not a neighborhood preference disagreement. That's a misrepresentation in the administrative record, and the letter frames it as such. Third, it demands a full EIR instead of the EAF on that the applicant filed. An EIR can add a year or more to a project timeline, require public circulation and response, and opens the project to sequel legal challenges if not done properly. This is what they believe is the single most powerful delay mechanism in the letter. And fourth, it denies all 8 waivers on the record with individual justifications for each. Each waiver denial is a documented harm, not an opinion, which matters if it goes to appeal or litigation. It does not intentionally give the applicant a checklist to fix things and come back with a revised project. And so I have here is the same type of formatting for the letter, but it tries to take what it feels are the strongest from both. And it's a 10-page version of the letter with the EnviroScore from Rosalie's document. I would love to share it with Rosalie and Lou and
Okay,
the
share
rest
it
of the
with us.
council.
And there was something that was said in there. It's not accurate, but I can't recall. Oh, but I also, we need to meet with Terry Osborne too about some of the
Well,
technical aspects.
I would like to show Terry Osborne my letter, Rosalie, because I think that would help resolve some of the problems here.
Well, and we'll send the AI version. So.
I want her to see my version. I want her to see my version.
Okay, we'll work this out and
And
hopefully for our next meeting, we will have the final recommended letter. So let's move on to the,
I have one other question for Dave, please. Dave, if you are going to submit something to us to work with, please have it in categories like I have so that we can focus on the point that we're making at that point. It's all in one place. Like I have it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those Roman numerals. Are you?
I'm listening. The letter as currently drafted goes through the EnviroScreen evidence, the freeway adjacent stuff. It goes into plan for a healthy Los Angeles, the request or demand for an environmental impact report, the citywide design guidelines and compliance failures, and then it goes into the guidelines there, and then the applicant contradictions and material misstatements, and then the findings that are evidentiary basis for denial in that format, and then the waivers, and then conditions required if project move forward against this recommendation is something that it's having here, which I hope doesn't come off as an acceptance or a pathway there, but it's also a very real possibility that projects get approved on a monthly basis despite a neighborhood council protesting, and then it has a summation here. Is that
no,
what-
yeah, the city has very specific guidelines for when an EIR is done, and this project would not meet that. And I'll have to find those guidelines, but anyway, all right.
Some of the things that Dave that you're mentioning about CEQA and the ERI, that is really not applicable to what we're trying to do right now. Just like Rosalie said, I will agree with her on that. AI, just at this point in time, AI is just, it has no real feel for what really is going on. It is just saying something from like a robotic point of view, but it has no actual feel for what is right or what is going on. So AI is not
In any case, we'll find the city's guidelines on EIR. So I don't think, that's why I put in there about the environmental
Got it.
assessment, which
I'll remove
apparently is
I'll remove it from
something,
that draft and then like know fully well that like my goal is to just give you all a starting point that
right,
Yes,
is
right.
more of a
that's what I was
version.
gonna say.
Yeah.
It's just a
Okay.
starting point, and then you guys can
I
take out
agree.
the part that doesn't, but it already
And
merged
also
the
after
two
some
styles.
advice from,
Dave, will you
from,
email me what you have, please, so I can see it, so I can download it? Have a hard
Yes.
copy, please.
I just shared it as a Google Doc, so you should be able to see that share. I'll do one revision right now when I get the revision without CEQA or EIR being named in there, so you don't have to go through the task of deleting that part.
And then
okay, so let's move on to item 5. So did everyone read the draft of our comment letter on the open space element that we discussed a little at our last meeting? Okay, do we need to quickly screen share it? And
I was gonna say if you could screen share. I read everything. If you could screen share, which one you talking about?
let's see.
Would you like me to screen share, Rosalie?
Okay, if you have it handy there.
I do. Give me it's the open space letter. There we go. Do we want to read it? Do you want me to read it out loud verbatim, or do we want to allow people to read it on the screen?
please do.
On April 12th, 2026, our board voted to recommend the following be included as part of the open space element update. Per Appendix 3, Community Health and Equity Index, the Harbor Gateway North area is shown as nearly all in the 43.56 to more than 48.57 range, where 0 represents a higher quality level of human health factors, such as are found in more affluent Los Angeles neighborhoods. CalEnviroscreen is a screening tool that identifies communities in California that are most affected by sources of pollution and where people are most vulnerable to the effects of pollution. According to CalEnviroscreen 4.0, the Harbor Gateway North area ranks in the 91 to 100 percentile, most likely due to the impacts of residents living near the 91, 110, and 105 freeways. As is stated on page 10 of the draft, expanding open space is also possible without formal designation by maximizing opportunities in conjunction with other uses. The final open space element needs to have an attachment listing proposed areas for open space with a plan for funding the implementation and for maintenance by the City of Los Angeles. We list methods to increase our open space below. Tree and shrub planting in major street medians. Vermont Avenue from 149 to 146, the east side narrow median. Vermont Avenue from 135th to 140th. Rosecrans Avenue side medians from Vermont Avenue to the 110 freeway. Figueroa between Rosecrans and 149th Street. El Segundo from just east of Vermont Avenue to the 110 freeway. La Caña Triangle. Figueroa between 170th and Redondo Beach. Hoover Street from El Segundo to Rosecrans. Imperial Highway from Vermont Avenue to Central Avenue. In alignment with Goal 1, Objective 1.1, maintain and expand public and private open space throughout the city to enhance ecological health and improve access to open space for neighborhoods prioritizing socially vulnerable communities with highest park needs. The city needs to purchase currently vacant lots where apartment buildings were proposed but have never been built, and other lots not yet built upon, such as Project 74 area of the Dominguez Channel, south of 17200 South Vermont Avenue, and related wetlands areas, part of a restoration of the Dominguez watershed in conjunction with the County of Los Angeles Public Works Department. 809 West 165th Place, APN, and then the numbers, west of the 16100, 16200 block of Bonsalo Avenue and north of 164 Avenue. Southwest corner of Alondra and Fig, 747 West Redondo Beach Boulevard, 110 to 112 West Imperial, 248 to 256 West Imperial. These measures would be in alignment with 1.13, publicly accessible open space, incentivize, encourage, and facilitate opportunities for new development to provide publicly accessible open space such as pocket parks, courtyards, small plazas, community gardens, orchards, rooftops, privately owned public spaces, and other multi-beneficial outdoor spaces. Common outdoor spaces encourage and facilitate opportunities for new development to provide usable, well-designed open space for occupants, such as courtyards, small plazas, community gardens, terraces, rooftops, and other multi-beneficial outdoor spaces. We also note that many new apartment projects allow for a reduction in setbacks and open space, which directly contradicts 1.15, prevent on-site open space reduction. Discourage requests to reduce the provision of common open space as part of the developmental approval process, prioritizing neighborhoods with the highest park need, respectfully.
So it's really a kind of a vision statement and just something to get on the record that we're a very park poor area and there are ways to plan to get more greenery, especially on medians and creating medians on some of our major streets. So we already have the nice median down Vermont Avenue because of the former red cars that traveled there. But
I like the rationale or the intention of the city needs to purchase currently vacant lots where apartment buildings were proposed but have never been built and other lots not yet built upon. I think there are some landlords or some property owners just sitting on undeveloped lots that are a nuisance.
yeah, so if anyone thinks of any others, otherwise, is there a motion to approve?
I do have to say, because I don't know whether or not I have to, I think I have to rescind myself from this vote and any further discussion after reading it out loud. Because the 809 West 165th Place is a property that the school that I run has been trying to purchase since 2020.
Right, but not, I mean, it could be, the city could purchase it technically.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know whether or not it's a conflict of interest. I just want to name
Yeah,
that that's something that's
right.
like, I'd rather the
Okay.
city own it than the current owners because the current owners are hoping to put an 18 unit apartment complex on there with I think 16 parking spots. I just don't know if it raises to the level of
Right.
conflict of
So
interest.
maybe maybe before our board meeting, you should consult the
Yeah,
city attorney just to see. Okay, so is there a motion to um approve the draft letter and send it to the board?
I approve to send the letter on open space enrollment to the board.
This is Janisha, I second.
Okay. So I'll do the roll call. Rosalie Preston, yes. Harvey Powell,
Yes.
Janisha Robinson,
Yes.
Rebecca Rodriguez,
Yes.
Dave Trejo will say recused, and Louetta Watson.
Abstain.
Okay.
I'll say recused just for the record.
Yes, okay. Okay, so the motion passes. And then the final section, item 6, brief reports on the planning of land use issues, the oil well, still ongoing, the Garner well, and the impact on particularly homes along 100 in the 700 block of 129th Street. there recently was, and the water that appears along the curb seems to happen when the drilling is the strongest. I did attend a Delamo Action Alliance Committee meeting about a week ago and mentioned that at the meeting, and one of the environmental studies students who's working as an intern for them said it definitely sounded like the side effect of fracking, where the water used to open up the rock down below is somehow is forced up, some of it is forced up to the surface, because actually on that occasion, the house to the west of the one that's been most impacted, there was signs of water that were coming up from a section of their driveway. The City Planning Commission, just so everyone is aware, is going to consider phased implementation of SB 79, the ordinance, and the low-rise ordinance on May the 14th. So at this point, actually our city is working to try to protect the R1 neighborhoods from the impact of SB 79, which would allow very dense projects, even on R1 properties within, I think it's a half mile of high quality public transit. This would have applied to actually the 11516 area and all around that because of the Sea Line station there on Vermont. But the city has prioritized such projects in the so-called resource rich areas, which mean the west side, where people who would live in the more dense apartments would be able to easily get to better paying jobs, and also it would apply to, I think, parts of the valley. So that's the version so far. I mean, eventually our areas around the 3 Green Line stations would be impacted, but not yet. So if I put the council file, you can, there's a way you can make public comment. I think I'll try to send out the link before May 14th. And any other planning and land use issues that we're aware of? We'll hold off on making comment on the tiny lot issue until we have a few more questions answered, especially about the mobile home park issue. Okay, so any announcements? I am going to be out of the country in the middle of May, so it's not going to work to have a May Planning and Land Use Committee meeting on the 4th Thursday. So I put it to June 25th, but if people wanted, we could try to have a special or a meeting on not a regular date, like Thursday, May 7th. So we'll see closer to the time if we think. Otherwise, we'll wait till June. Okay, if there's nothing else, we can adjourn the meeting at 8:50 p.m. Thanks everyone for attending.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, everybody be safe.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.